Today I'm going to be showing you how to create a loose and interpretive winter scene to create some snow-covered trees in a landscape with a beautiful sky. And you can paint right along with me, and we'll do this step by step. So let's get started. Hi art friends, welcome. It's Dena Tollefson. I'm so glad to have you here today. All right, so what you'll need is you will need some watercolor paper. I'm using here the Arches 140-pound cold pressed. You can get hot pressed or cold pressed. Cold pressed has got a little bit of texture on it. And then that's what it looks like here before you start painting. And then you're gonna wanna use some washi tape, or I'm using an acid-free tape. Go ahead and tape your paper all the way down. The other thing that you'll need is watercolors. So I'm gonna be using watercolors in a pan. I love these pans. They've got a nice cover that you put over the top, and it keeps your watercolor just how you like it until you're ready to use it. And this, they come in these little tubes from Holbein. I've got some Holbein colors like, let's see, indigo, and we're going to be using ultramarine blue. There's a peacock blue. Here's some Winsor & Newton French ultramarine. But we're gonna get these colors all going, and you'll need a little mixing tray if you have one. What you can do with the mixing tray is you can take the color, if you want to use tube colors, you can also use just colors in a regular watercolor pan. And if you do that, there's a little area for mixing here. But if you use the colors in the pan, what's kind of nice is these little ceramic or porcelain mixing bowls are nice that you can put the colors in and add water, as much water so that you have it the right consistency. So you'll also need, in addition to that, you'll need your watercolor brushes. And the brushes I'm using here are from Silver Company. These are squirrel hair with a synthetic, a mixture of natural squirrel hair and synthetic. And then, let's see, what else do we need? Oh, we need a pencil. You'll need just a regular pencil. Could be mechanical pencil or regular pencil. An eraser if you need it. I use a palette knife just to kind of move some paint around. You don't have to if you don't want to. And then you'll need some cotton buds, Q-tips. You can use cotton balls, whatever you like. And then I'm also using some cloths to wipe off the excess paint. And we're going to be doing this painting in layers. So we're going to start with the sky and the snow, then we're going to lay the trees in, and then we're going to add dark colors, and then we're going to take color off, and you can do like a repeat of that until you get it just the way you like. So I'll take you through all of those steps, and let's get started with that. So the first thing that we're going to want to do now is go in and do a wash of color for the sky and a little bit of color for the snow here. And the idea is we're going to leave this horizon area light in color. So I've got a little extra eraser crumb. Let's get those rubbed off. So using a watercolor brush, I'm going to dip into some fresh clean water. We're going to do a wet and wet wash over our sky. And then down over here in the foreground, do the same thing. We'll get that wet as well. Now we can come in with some color on our sky and in our foreground. So I want to start with the lightest area. So looking at our colors here, I'm gonna grab my little color wheel. I think we can either use a Winsor lemon or a Winsor yellow, I think, for that lightest area. And I think let's go with, well, actually, let's go with this Winsor yellow. That's this one right over here. And just get a tiny amount of that on our brush. I'm gonna put that over here in our mixing bowl. This is just the porcelain mixing tray. I'm gonna put this in here and add a little bit of water because we're just trying to get a small amount of color going here. So let's just wipe this across. We're gonna go and get it across the tree area too. Then what we can do is go in with a deeper color, a deeper, darker color. So let's go with this this Winsor Yellow Deep. So let's come in with a little bit of that color and mix it in. And just get that nice wash of color going for our horizon area. And then let's add a little bit of I do love pink in the sky. And here in Iowa, we do have sometimes some really wonderful pinks and purples in the sky. So let's go, I love this color here, this permanent Winsor & Newton permanent magenta. Let's get a little bit of that over into this tray, add a little bit of water, so it's really just barely a color. Get that into our sky. We're just gonna let these colors mingle. You know, we can also put a little touch of that down here in the snow, just for balance, because the one thing about snow is it will echo what it sees in the sky. So if you have you have these colors in the sky, you'll also see them in the snow. All right, and then up above, one thing about skies to always keep in mind too is that as you move from horizon to the top of your sky, it typically gets darker. So we're gonna put more color, or have it be a little bit darker up here at the top. And for our sky color, there's a color that always is so lovely in skies, and that's French ultramarine. So here's a Winsor & Newton French ultramarine. Let's look at a little French ultramarine and get that going here. We'll put that in this tray here. That's a beautiful blue. And we can even put a little bit of wavy color. Get a little bit more of that. And just get that up in our sky. And we can put a bit of that down here as well. Down here in our snow area. There we go. Now I'm looking at this and thinking, this looks a little contrived, like it's just a couple of bands. So let's go in and take our brush and let's adjust our color a little bit. Add some water and let's get some sky effect. And let those colors kind of mix. I like that better. It feels a little bit more like clouds, and by letting this water kind of bloom up in there. And then and also add a little purple, just because purple is such a nice color. Gotta have purple in our landscape, I think. So this is a, let's see, here's Holbein Permanent Violet. That's this one right here. Let's get a little bit of that going over here. And maybe we can get some, oops. Now it's not fully, the reason we get these little grainy things, if that happens with you, those little grainy things are where the water hasn't dissolved the pigment yet. And I actually kind of like that little scratchy effect it gives. But we can work with that. All right, and we'll get a little purple up in our sky too. All right, that's nice. So the next step now, once you put your first initial wash on, just to get our landscape started and our colors, the next thing that you're going to want to do is let this dry thoroughly. So make your colors where you want them to go, and then you can either walk away and come back, but you can see it's like super duper wet right now. What you can do is let it dry, or you can use, what I'll do here is I'll use my Chandler heat gun. I'm gonna set it on low and then go ahead and wash and dry it with the heat gun. Okay, so now we have got our painting completely dry. And we know that it's dry because part of it is it's like when it's wet, it kind of poofs up a little bit. And when you get the paper, the watercolor paper, when you get your paper all the way dry, then it will be nice and flat again. The next step is we're going to lay in a very light amount, the middle value of the trees. And we're going to use kind of a blue, some blues and some greens to do that. So if you go over, let's go over to our colors. We're going to pick, we're going to use some French ultramarine, and we're going to use some of this cobalt from Holbein, and we can even use a little bit of Prussian blue. just going to, and I just indicated at first on my trees here, just the general shape of where these things are sitting. And the bigger trees have got the bigger spaces out over here, and this tree will go like right up onto the front here. The center of the tree, we'll want to make sure when you're putting your trees in, make sure that your centers of your trees, get a little couple spiky things up here, but you want your center of your trees to be more filled in, and then the branches, as you move out, you can have them go out in kind of a random form. Remember to not make anything, don't make them all the same. Try and make a little bit of variety. Let's get another tree over here behind him. And just kind of playing with the shapes and let the brush do the work. And this is dry paper. So we're putting our little trees onto this dry paper. We'll put a little ultramarine in here. Your watercolors will, as you work with them, your watercolor will get a little bit of this ultramarine in here, maybe some over here. We want to make sure that we're using different colors and getting some variety. Let's get a taller one over here. But just a nice little path so we feel like we're walking into this little set of trees. We'll get some back behind here. We'll make him just a little bit more important and a little bit bigger, just so we have an entry point into our little, I'm thinking of this like there's a wonderful tree farm that's really close to our house. And I'm thinking about this little tree farm. Trees are, go over here. The trees on this tree farm, and we'll get some with a hooker's green in here. The trees are not all in the same place, and they kind of extend out. So we're going to get let's add some green here, the hooker's green. And again, I feel like if we get another tree, maybe if we had another tree right in here. Well, you know what? I keep going back to it. I need to get a bigger tree back here. Let's, when you're doing your trees, you can decide how many trees you want to put in there and which ones you want to do, but I'm feeling like, let's add a little bit more of this. Get a little bit more of this cobalt going. Let's get a big cobalt tree just going right over here, kind of centrally located. We'll get him going right through here. Whoops, no, I got a little bit too much pigment. If that happens with you, just rinse your brush and then you can wipe it off like that. There we go. There we go. That's better. Now that's more like it. All right, so we have a path going in over here, and then we have our tallest tree here. And we have some of these little spiky guys here. So now that we have all of our trees in where we want to put them, now we can put in the dark parts. And this is where we want to add in the shadow effect. So right now we've got the trees, the middle part of the tree, but what we can do is put in the darkest darks. So in order to do the darkest dark, we're going to use some of this Holbein indigo. And that's this color right here, up in here. So this Holbein indigo, we're going to want to apply, now that the paper is still wet, we're going to apply this Holbein indigo, and I'm going to get a little palette knife here. If you can see that here, we want this indigo to be really, really thick that we put on, like super thick. So I've got a little clump of the indigo, and I want it to look really dark and inky. And when we put this on with our brush, we're going to be putting in the shadows. All right, so that looks good. So this is our indigo. And wipe that off on here. Now taking that same brush, I'm going to dab the brush off and then go into the indigo. And then use the indigo to describe the shadows on the tree. And this is what we're doing here, is wet on wet. And what we want to get is get the effect. And then we're now putting on basically the shadow under each of the trees. So on these trees, we've got these wonderful deep shadowy areas. And as we go further back into the distance, you're going to want to not have quite as, you need a little bit of dark, but not as much dark in your trees. So if you want to create the idea of light on something, is you need to have a contrast of dark. And we'll get some of this under here. This is all, the paper is still a little bit damp. Sometimes on these trees there's some like little dark branches that don't have any needles on them. So we can kind of get some of these effects here by teasing some of the color up there as well. Okay. All right, great. So now the next step is we want to tip our paper up so that we get it to flow down a little bit. So, and if you need to add a little bit of water to get it moving, then you can do that. I'm just going to dip the brush into the water so that we can get this moving a little bit, the dark. So we want to add just a little bit more dark here. It's important to get enough darks so that the light will be in contrast, we'll have enough light. Let's get our brown out. So this Van Dyke brown, you can put a little bit of a stem. Just letting the watercolor do its thing. Couple of stems going back here, and this is just a loose and interpretive landscape, loosely painted, nice and loose. So let's get our paint tipped up again here. All right, once we allow this to just melt down and flow into each other. I'm going to take some clear water and we'll get some more soft effects. So we want to have a soft, shadowy effect. So if it's on here a little bit and it's dried already too much, then you can just dab your water on there to get it activated. Okay, so now the next step is we're going to dry it again. So I'll get my drying tool out here. Okay, so now we have totally dry. Now our paper is totally dry. So what we can do next is go in and do some lifting techniques. So I'm going to get out my Q-tips, my cotton swabs. And we can also use just a cloth. You can just use that. You can also use erasers if you like to do your lifting, but I like to do it with a cotton swab. Okay, let's get our brush back over here. Because now we're going to use a smaller brush. So we're going to just use, this is a number 4 brush, and we're going to dip both sides of the Q-tip in. So what we'll do now is we'll do some lifting. So we can get some effect. So the blues that we put on were our lightest color, or our middle color. And now what we can do is go in and remove some color which is going to give us a soft effect. And it's also going to give us like some snow, like the lightest colors. So we didn't, as you notice, we didn't mask anything off on our trees, but now we can get our snow effect, and we can do the same thing by using the brush, and we can lift by putting just clean water on the top and lifting off. We'll have a little clump of snow maybe landed over here. We'll get that lifted off there. But you can see the difference between when we've done our lifting effect and then where we haven't done it yet. So let's go over here, do some more lifting, and try and vary the approach. So let's do like a circle over here and an edge. We'll do a straight line here because the snow, try and maybe connect some of the shapes here. So the snow is not going to just be only in like little circles or in a certain shape. So I want to go ahead and vary when you're removing the snow here or making this snow effect. Try and give, move and create different effects or different shapes. So we'll do a little shape there. Okay, so I'm happy with this one. Now let's go over and do a little snow effect back over here. Get some snow going back here in the distance. And we want our edges to be softer. For the distant trees, you want your edges to be distant and soft. So we'll kind of soften some of these edges back here on these trees so that they don't stand out as much. We want the foreground trees to stand out the most. Okay, go through a lot of Q-tips on this, and my husband Bill always likes to tease me that I go through a lot of Q-tips. And we can just use the Q-tip also to soften the edge of our, like where the grass meets the snow, and just kind of create some soft edges in the landscape, like that. But let's make some footprints. In the snow. And when you're working on your own trees, you can put your branches wherever you want. You can put your snow however you like it. Just really up to you. And in fact, I think what I'm going to do is I actually feel like I want to have some more branches on here. So I'm going to go back in with this, a little bit of the cobalt blue. And let's make some more branches for this guy here. I'll make him a little bit more dominant. A little bit more of the blue here. So if you find that you're working on the tree and it's like it doesn't feel dominant enough, you can absolutely layer, and like I'm doing here, add more in. We'll add a little bit of the sap green up at the top and here as well. We can put a little bit of the sap green here as well. And let's put a little bit more of that sap green just back here, just to get things a little bit more green. There we go. All right, so now what we should do is we should now get this so that we're going to add some indigo. So let me get back to the indigo here. And while this is still wet, let's get some branch definition. Can even go back on here, because the more contrast that we have, the more dramatic it will be. If you need to go back in and add any additional contrast on your earlier ones, you can certainly do that. And then since watercolor does dry as it does get lighter as it dries, you want to make sure you've got enough dark in your painting, because the dark will make the lights look more light. Okay, there we go. Now what we can do is dry this again. And then as we go in, now it's not quite dry, it's almost dry. Now we can go in and do some lifting. So we'll do some major lifting here. And I'll show you how to do that. So I'm gonna get some areas wet, and then I'll come over and press with the cloth and then lift the color off. Like that. There we go. We'll get a little area wet here and we'll do a lift. So I'm going to turn the cloth and do a lift. There we go. So this process for making these trees is just really, you just go in and you apply pigment and then you can lift off where you don't, if you have somewhere if you have it too much, until you get a balance. There, that's nice. Let's go back over here and do a lift there. Come back over to these areas that we just added the thing, and then we're gonna stand it up, stand the painting up a little bit so that the water will drip down. Same thing here, we want to get some nice bloom effects. There we go. And then let's extend this. We can also extend while this is wet over here, we can extend, make a little area that's a little bit darker. So we get another, again, accenting this feeling of depth in the landscape. Just activate this with a little bit of water. Let's soften some of this dark and move it around like so. There we go. Let's do some lift over here. Some snow here. There we go. To check and make sure I didn't get water on my and I'm not getting paint on myself here. There we go. So I want to keep doing this until we get it lifted enough. And you can also do some dripping effect. But we don't want to skimp on this stage where we make it just feel nice and drippy and snowy. And we can lift with the cloth. Oops, and then we can get some and let's just let that run down. So there's a lot of snow on some of the trees. Some trees will have more snow than others. And just dab that and wipe that. There, now it's starting to shape up here. We're starting to get some good feeling of a blustery snow that's on there. I'm gonna get another cloth and just get this process here where we're just gonna go in and create that snow. It seems like the snow, getting the snow the way you want it is the tricky part. And you have to just kind of trust the process that you're just gonna kind of let go and do these random motions on here. And little by little, the snow effect comes into play. And if If you take too much off, you can always add more paint like we did earlier. So there we go. Well, I'm feeling very happy with this now. I feel like this is giving us that snow effect that I was hoping for. So I am going to go ahead and sign my painting now. So I'll show you how to sign your painting. You can use either, you can paint directly with a little brush like this. You can paint your name on there. You can sign with graphite, or you can sign with a watercolor pencil. So I'm gonna sign with graphite, and I'm gonna do my signature right here. Like that. All right, wonderful. Now, the last step then is to get this totally dry, and then we can take the, off our tape and do a final reveal. So let's do that now. Okay, so now our painting is totally dry, and we can tell it's dry because it's flattened back out again. And so let's do the exciting part, which is the tape reveal. Let's peel off that tape, and we'll see the lovely landscape that we have created here below. I'd like you to leave me a comment if you decide to make a landscape like this. Leave me a comment, let me know how it came out. Well, I hope that you've enjoyed today's video, and I also hope that you'll give me a like here and subscribe if you haven't already. So I hope to see you again next time. It's Dena Tollefson, and all my best to you. Bye-bye. Thank you so much, my art club members. I appreciate you.